This experiment was carried out in 1920 by John B. Watson and his graduate student Rosalie Rayner at Johns Hopkins University. So who was John B. Watson? Watson was born in 1878 in South Carolina. He grew up in a poor family but worked his way into higher education and eventually earned his PhD in psychology. He became a professor and later the chair of psychology at Johns Hopkins University. Watson is best known as the founder of behaviorism. At the time, psychology was heavily influenced by introspection, the idea of studying people's thoughts and feelings. Watson disagreed with that approach. He argued that psychology should be treated like a natural science, focusing only on what we can see and measure, people's actions and behaviors. For the study, he and Rosalie Rayner used a 9-month-old baby nicknamed Little Albert. At first, Albert wasn't afraid of animals and enjoyed playing with them. But Watson and Rayner paired a harmless animal with a loud, frightening noise. Pretty soon, Albert began to cry just at the sight of the animal, even when the noise wasn't present. His fear also spread to other furry things, like rabbits, dogs. The experiment proved Watson's point, that fear can be conditioned, but it was also very unethical. Albert was never retaught to not be afraid, and he had no choice in participating. After this study, Watson's career in academia ended suddenly due to a personal scandal, but he went on to work in advertising, where he used psychology to sell products. His behaviorist ideas still influenced psychology for decades, shaping how we study learning, child development, and phobias.
This is the footage of a controversial 1920s experiment on a baby known as Little Albert, conducted by psychologist John B. Watson. The purpose of the experiment was to show that a normal 9-month-old infant could be conditioned to have a phobia of something he wasn't scared of before. Firstly, Watson presented Little Albert with objects that the baby wasn't afraid of, objects that Albert initially liked. A monkey, a dog, a rabbit, and finally a white rat. Albert particularly liked the white rat. In all of these clips, notice Albert's positive reactions. Now in these clips is where the conditioning starts. Each time Albert tried to touch the white rat, a loud iron rod was struck that would upset him. Notice how Albert starts to cry when he tries to touch the rat. Albert was then shown a rabbit, but this time he immediately begins to cry and attempts to crawl away from it. He then has a negative reaction when a dog is brought in. And then little Albert is agitated when a seal fur coat is brought in. And then Watson wears a furry Santa Claus mask, which invokes an extremely negative response.